Hello everybody, my name's Rebecca and welcome back to my bookish travels. Today I am going to be doing a book discussion on The Hidden Princess by Mira Crest. And this is the first book in the Princess League series, and I'm very excited to kind of discuss this because I finished reading it a while ago, like earlier in the month, and this book has still stuck with me, and that tells me it is a very good book and one that more people should know about. So I'm going to break this into 3 sections. The first part is going to be me giving you a brief synopsis of this story. The second part will be a non-spoiler discussion, and the third is going to be spoiler. So I will give warnings before each part. So if you're not wanting to be spoiled, then you'll at least have that forewarning. So obviously the first part is going to be the synopsis. So if you're not familiar with this, our story follows our main protagonist, Penny, who is the 3rd child of the king. Now she currently lives in the dungeon of the castle and has been told to all that should know that she died at birth. And that is because she was not born with the beauty that the heirs of the king are supposed to hold, and because of that the king did not want his reputation to be affected and basically told everyone she was dead and put her in the dungeon. But there's also a twist to this as to another reason why she's in the dungeon, because she's kind of a bit of a danger. See, Penny has the ability by touching you to be able to read your thoughts or hear your thoughts, and that could be somewhat dangerous if you think about it in the long run. The entire story changes, though, when Everett, a dragon prince from Dragon's Keep, appears and needs help to kill or destroy the mist that is actually affecting and killing the dragons. He is in need of one of the royal heirs, who in turn he is required to marry for assistance. So obviously he needs help from Tatiana and Sarah, but in turn he also stumbles across Penny, who might be able to assist him as well. Here's the synopsis. If that intrigues you, please pick this up. I highly recommend it. So there's a few things that I actually wanted to bring up in this non-spoiler section of the video. The first being that this is the most unique Cinderella retelling I have ever read. I definitely will state that there are things that you know from the traditional Cinderella story or even from the Disney Cinderella story, and go into this knowing that. Please go into it knowing that that is the typical Cinderella retelling phrase that we go through, and read this. Now, I will tell you that I had certain times where I was like, I see the direction this is going in, and other times I don't. And I really liked that. I liked that the author could surprise me, and I didn't always know the direction she was going in. And I just really liked that about this story. Another thing I really like is that the author is very good at character development. She's great because each of the characters had such a unique voice that you could easily distinguish who it was in all the different scenes, because we do have a couple different characters, right? We have Penny, Sarah, Tatiana, the King, Everett, we have Canyon, we have Lady Fond. There are so many different characters. Oh, I almost forgot my favorite character, Thomas. There's so many different characters that I definitely, if they don't have a really strong development for their voice, I easily get confused. I did not see that happening in this story. On top of it, when I say character development, you also get to see quite a few of those characters develop over the course of the book, or you get to see their actual character solidify into like the total encompassing of what you thought they were. So I really enjoyed that. I think the author did a really great job on that, because sometimes characters can have weak development, and that was not the case in this book. Finally, if you guys like a book that is part of a series, but it does close off that part of the story to move on to the next one, this one does it really well. It definitely is part of a series, so you know that there's going to be some continuation, but it does close off this one very well, and I really like that, where it closed it and led into the next one. And finally, we are moving into the spoiler discussion. I'm actually really excited to do this because I haven't had anyone else read this book that I'm aware of that I've been able to kind of dish and kind of discuss the characters and the story and everything. So if you have read it, please continue on. If you haven't, please don't. I feel really bad when people spoil themselves on really good books, and this is one that I really liked, so I would hate to spoil you on things if this was a book you potentially wanted to read. Something that I want to mention, and I have to get it out right at the start, is Penny. I was so shocked when I found out that the fairy that visited her at the start of the story was actually the key component of the mist. I always get it so confused. There's a D there. Am I pronouncing it midst or mist? I don't know. It keeps happening. But finding out that that fairy was the key component to this, I was just shocked. Absolutely shocked. I didn't see that coming. Fairy godmother who bestows onto Cinderella this situation. I was like, what is going on here? I just was not expecting it. I was so excited that it happened, and I loved that twist. And I was like, after it happened, why has no one else thought that that could be a brilliant twist in the retelling? So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I kind of liked that a lot of this story led back to the character's insecurities or the weakness in the character or what you assumed was a strength. I think that was such a unique take on it that I really enjoyed seeing that aspect. I was totally not fully surprised, but I was still shocked when you found out that the king and Tatiana were a part of it. Now, it was sad when you found out that the king ended up dying because he couldn't survive without that aspect. And Tatiana, I feel really bad that she's actually now, somewhat disfigured and she's having a hard time coping with that. But the other thing is you also understand that she maybe needed that because of how her character was. I don't know. I don't want to ever say that a character needed something to happen to them to become a better character, but I'm really actually hopeful that she maybe makes a comeback in one of the later books, because I always love character redemption. For some reason, character redemption is one that I like to see, and I feel like Tatiana is one that I would like to see it with, but I also really hated her throughout the entire book. She didn't really have a saving grace at any point in the story. So I'm still somewhat shocked that I kind of want to see that redemption with her character. I think it's because of Sarah. I felt so bad when the author actually did kill Sarah's character. I was just like, what? Are you serious? She did no holds barred. When she killed that character, she killed that character. And I was quite surprised. I don't know. I feel like that wasn't the only way to end it, but I also feel like it was the only way to end it with Sarah. But I felt so bad because she'd been so destroyed. And, her character had been... Sarah's character just makes me feel so heartbroken because there was so much going on there and you had no idea. And I think when I first got the inkling, it was when Penny woke up and Sarah was sitting there and everybody was dead, and you knew it had to be one of the monsters that had done that, and Sarah was still alive. And I was like, oh no, Sarah's a part of this. And that's all I was thinking. That was at the point where I somewhat thought that Sarah was involved. And then when you fully see at the end, it just, Sarah's character does. It brings me a lot of heartache. And I think that's why I say, I kind of want Tatiana to be redeemed, but I don't as well. It's a bittersweet kind of redemption that I'm looking for there. Next is Lady Fond. I am so confused. She had such short length of screen time. It only took place when Penny ended up going into like the person's mind and whatnot. What's going on there? Like, everybody seems to be interconnected for their minds, which I find very intriguing and would definitely like to hear more about. But I'm also intrigued by what's going on with Lady Fond. What is her part? Is she actually the, in my mind, fairy godmother? And I was just thinking the fairy that bestowed the gift on Cinderella is the fairy godmother, and there was that twist. I don't know, but I feel like Lady Fond is like this unique character that doesn't feel like a fairy godmother. Possibly is because she did give her the shoes, but I don't know, like, I'm not feeling the fairy godmother thing from Lady Fond. I think that there's something else at work there, and I'm like, I know that she's kind of the protector of that realm in a way, but there's so much more there that I want to know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Lady Fond is the fairy godmother, and I was just in the back of my mind being like the person that gave Cinderella that like bit of beauty, was like, oh yeah, like that's the fairy godmother. Maybe Lady Fond actually is, and I just wasn't picking up on that until like this moment right now. I don't know. Lady Fond, I'd like more from her, and I'd like to get some more information on her. I don't know if we're going to get that though, because again, fairy godmother, if that is who she's supposed to be, you don't really know a lot about her. She's quite mysterious, and maybe that is the case. Maybe Lady Fond's going to be the mystery we don't get the answer for. And finally, can we just talk about how much I loved the dragons in this? There's not a lot of scenes where they are shifting into dragon, but again, I felt like this was a really unique take on Cinderella, where you're kind of throwing dragons into the midst of it, and it just worked really well. My favorite character, I have to tell you guys, is Thomas, and he has a little bit of screen time, like even less than Lady Fond. But I so loved his character. Like, he so cared about Penny, and I just really appreciated that with him. I so love that he actually loved her as if she was his own daughter. I'm kind of getting a vibe that he's like closer to the king's age than like Penny's age. I didn't get like a romantic interest vibe. I was just getting more of like a parental love vibe from him. And I loved it. And I so wish at the end that he was going with Penny, because I feel like Thomas has such like viable like character potential that I would like to see that. And finally, Canyon. Just a moment to focus on Canyon. There wasn't any resolution after the scene where he confessed that he actually always loved Penny. I kind of wish that we could have gotten a little bit more from that. Like, there's nothing, like, after that happens, everything else kind of happens, and then there's nothing again. So I feel like that was left pretty open. So I don't actually know what the purpose of his character was. Like, yes, he was Penny's first love in a way, and yes, it was reciprocated, and yes, there was that moment of like unknown nature between the two of them, but there's no actual like resolution. So it just kind of almost feels like it was left undone. Like, it was just, he was there as a love interest, but nothing further. So he literally felt like just a character put there. So that was part of the reasons why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It didn't feel like that was very well thought out. It was just kind of plunked in there. Yes, it did play a role and it was vital, but it wasn't vital enough to be able to be given a conclusion. So I don't know, maybe is he gonna like appear in another one of the books? Possibly. I'm not sure. I'd be okay with that. I feel like he was a really good character. I was intrigued to see more from him. So I'd be okay if he showed up in a future book in this series. So that's my discussion, those few points. I kind of went a little bit rambly at the end of this, but again, it's more of a discussion than a book talk. Let me know what you guys think. If you've watched to this point in time and you have read The Hidden Princess, what was your thought with it? I liked it. I did find points it did drag a little bit in the story, but I feel like it didn't drag in the unnecessary parts. I think it was very well done, and I think the author put a lot of that disorientation for how Penny felt in the writing so that you as the reader had that disorientation as well. Overall, very well done. I really like this author's writing, and I definitely could see myself continuing with this series. So if you want to chat further, please comment down below, and I will talk to you guys next week. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you next time. Bye!